Welcome to Dead Air Confessions. Late at night, when the streets are empty and the signal begins to fade, people start sharing the things they never say out loud. The strange call they received, the person they saw standing outside, the night they realized they were not alone. Tonight, you will hear stories from people who carried those memories for years. Before we go on air, leave a comment and tell me where you are listening from tonight. And if you enjoy true scary stories with a quiet, late-night feel, subscribe to Dead Air Confessions. Turn the volume down low. The line is open.
For most of my childhood and almost all of my teenage years, my family lived in a relatively small town somewhere in upstate Pennsylvania. I'm not going to name the town. Partly because I don't live there anymore, and partly because I've spent enough years wondering whether what happened to me was connected to that specific place, that stretch of woods, or something that could happen anywhere under the right circumstances. Our house sat near the edge of town, not completely isolated, but far enough out that the neat streets and sidewalks gradually disappeared before you reached us. Most of the houses closer to the center of town had paved roads, streetlights, sidewalks, and driveways. Ours didn't. Once you got off the main road, everything split into these long dirt paths that wound through thick patches of woods before eventually reaching scattered houses. The nearest bus stop was about 10 minutes from where our road began, and from there I still had another 20 or 30 minutes of walking before I reached home. Most people thought that sounded miserable, especially during winter, or rain, or those summer afternoons when mosquitoes treated you like an all-you-can-eat buffet. But I actually liked it. Those walks were one of the few times I could be completely alone without anyone expecting anything from me. No teachers, no parents, no younger kids from whatever program I had been stuck helping with. Just trees, birds, wind, the crunch of gravel and dirt beneath my shoes. Some people describe the roads around our neighborhood as creepy. I never understood that. At least, not then. The woods had always felt familiar. Safe, I knew where certain trees leaned across the path. I knew where water collected after heavy rain. I knew which section became muddy first in spring. I knew where the deer crossed and where somebody had once dumped an old washing machine far enough into the brush that nobody ever bothered removing it. There was one large tree about halfway along the route home that had a red arrow painted on it. The arrow pointed left. That was mine. Well, mine and my friend, Caleb's. We had painted it there the year before when we decided to build a treehouse a short distance off the main path. Calling it a treehouse was generous. It was basically a platform wedged between 3 trees about 6 feet off the ground, with a tiny ladder and one badly nailed plank standing upright like a wall. We had been 13. At 13, that counted as architecture. The arrow had become useful for something else, though. It marked where I was on the walk home. Once I reached that tree, I knew I had maybe another 10 or 15 minutes before the dirt road opened into the clearing where our house stood. It had been that way for years. Always. Until one afternoon when it wasn't. I was coming home from a summer program. It wasn't really camp, exactly. More like one of those community youth programs parents sign you up for because they don't want you spending the entire summer indoors playing video games. I had stayed later than usual that day. By the time I got off the bus, the afternoon was already starting to soften into evening. Still plenty of daylight, though. I remember putting my headphones in, then immediately taking one out because the battery warning kept beeping. Nothing unusual. I walked the 10 minutes from the bus stop, reached the beginning of our dirt road, then smelled something. At first, I assumed It was a dead animal. That happened. A deer gets hit and crawls into the woods. A raccoon dies somewhere beneath brush. Something decomposes near the trail. The smell hits you hard for a few steps, then fades once you move past the source. This was different. It smelled like rotten eggs mixed with cheap laundry detergent. That is still the closest description I can give. Sulfur and artificial flowers. Something rotten hidden beneath something aggressively clean. The combination made my throat tighten. I covered my nose with my shirt and kept walking. I expected the smell to disappear. It didn't. 5 minutes. Still there. 10. Stronger. I remember thinking somebody must have dumped chemicals nearby. Maybe septic waste. Maybe some farmer had spread something. There were plenty of reasonable explanations. The woods looked normal. That was important. Same trees. Same path. Same late afternoon sunlight coming through the branches. I kept walking. Eventually, I saw the red arrow. Relief, not because I had been scared yet, just because I wanted to get home and away from the smell. I passed the arrow. 10 minutes. No clearing. That wasn't immediately alarming. Maybe I was walking slower. Maybe I had misjudged time. I kept going. 15 minutes. Still trees. 20, that was when I stopped. Something was wrong. The path wasn't straight, but I knew every bend. At least, I thought I did. There should have been a section where the woods thinned, then a slight downhill slope, then the clearing. Instead, the trail simply continued. Trees on both sides, dirt ahead, the smell hanging everywhere. I pulled out my phone. No service. That wasn't unusual either. Reception around our house had always been bad. I checked the time. Then, turned around. My first thought was that I had somehow taken the wrong branch. There were several dirt roads leading toward different houses. Maybe I had been distracted. Maybe the smell had thrown me off. I walked back. 1 minute. 2, then stopped. The red arrow was directly in front of me. I stared at it. That made no sense. I had walked at least 20 minutes beyond it. Even if my sense of time was completely wrong, I had walked much farther than 2 minutes. I looked at the arrow, bright red paint, faded around the edges. Caleb and I had drawn it badly. Definitely ours. I stood there for a moment, trying to understand what I had done. Maybe I had looped somehow. The road curved. Had I accidentally walked in a large circle? No, impossible, but I didn't have a better answer. I turned and walked forward again. I paid attention this time. Counted steps. 100, 200, 300. I passed a tree split by lightning. A shallow ditch. A cluster of white stones. All familiar. I kept going for maybe 12 minutes. Then stopped. Turned around. Walked back maybe 10 steps. Red arrow. Right there. I didn't scream. Not yet. I just stared. My body felt suddenly cold. I tried again. Forward 15 minutes. Turn 5 steps back. Arrow. Again, I tried walking faster. Same result. Tried running. Same, tried marking one tree with a scratch from my key. Walked forward. Turned, arrow, the scratched tree gone. After maybe the 7th attempt, I started panicking. I knew the path. I had walked it hundreds of times. There was no way to walk 20 minutes in one direction, take 3 steps back, and return to the exact same point. That isn't confusion. That isn't getting lost. That's impossible. The smell seemed worse whenever I stayed on the main path. Rotten eggs. Chemical sweetness. It coated my tongue. I gagged once and spat into the dirt. Then I looked at the red arrow. Left. The treehouse. I hadn't thought about it in months. Caleb and I had mostly stopped using it because one side had started coming loose and his dad had told us somebody was going to break their neck. Still, that trail led away from the main road. Maybe there was another way out, or at least somewhere I could sit and think. I stepped off the main path. Almost immediately, the smell weakened. I noticed it after maybe 20 feet. I stopped, turned back toward the dirt road. The odor rolled toward me again. I turned toward the treehouse. Less, that was enough. I kept going. The small trail was barely visible now. Weeds had grown across it. Branches caught my shirt, but I remembered the route, left around the fallen log, across a shallow ditch, past 2 birch trees. Then there, the treehouse, exactly where it should have been. Or almost. I stood beneath it and felt relief so strong I nearly laughed. Something familiar, something that followed normal rules. The 3-foot ladder was still there. The platform still sagged slightly on the right. One plank stood upright as our pathetic excuse for a wall. I climbed. The structure creaked beneath my weight. That sound made me feel better. Caleb and I had built it badly. It was supposed to creak. I sat on the platform, took several breaths. The smell was completely gone. Birds, I could hear birds again. I hadn't realized until that moment that the main path had become silent. No insects, no birds, no wind. Here I heard leaves moving, something small rustling below. Normal woods. I checked my phone. Still no service. The time surprised me. I had been walking much longer than I thought. The sun was already low. Orange light filtered through the trees. I needed to get home. Mom would be worried. But while I sat there, another feeling crept in. Something about the treehouse was wrong. I couldn't identify it. The platform was the same shape, same nails, same plank. There was even a little carving Caleb had made with his pocket knife, C+J. But the letters looked slightly different. Deeper, older, and the tree itself seemed larger. Not dramatically, just enough that the platform fit differently around the trunk. I ran my hand over the plank wall. The wood felt damp. Caleb and I had used dry scrap lumber from his dad's garage. This felt like it had been outside for decades. I noticed another carving beneath ours. A small arrow pointing down. I didn't remember making it. I climbed off. The sun was getting lower. I followed the small trail back. That was when I heard the footsteps. At first, I didn't recognize them as separate from mine. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Walking through leaves naturally creates echoes. Branches snap. Your backpack shifts. But after maybe a minute, I slowed. The footsteps slowed. I stopped. Another step happened behind me. Just one, then silence. I turned. Nothing. The trail was empty. Hello? No answer. I felt ridiculous. Squirrel, deer, another kid, maybe Caleb somehow. I started walking again. Crunch, crunch, there, 2 rhythms. Mine and another just slightly delayed. I stopped suddenly. Crunch, 1 extra step, then nothing. My heart began hammering. I turned slowly. Empty woods. I started walking faster. The second footsteps matched. Not perfectly, always half a beat behind. I ran. They ran. Branches snapped behind me. I burst back onto the main path. Red arrow. The smell hit me so hard I almost vomited. I turned right, toward home. Ran 5 minutes. 10, no clearing. I looked back. The red arrow was 20 feet behind me. No, I ran the other direction. Same arrow, I went back toward the treehouse. Found it, passed it, kept going. I had never gone much farther beyond our platform before. There wasn't supposed to be much. Eventually, according to old maps, the woods should connect with another service road. I walked. 10 minutes. 15, then saw the treehouse again. From the opposite side. I stopped dead. That was impossible, too. I had walked straight. No turns. Yet I had somehow circled back. The sky darkened. Panic became something physical. My chest tightened. My hands shook. I screamed for help. Hello? Nothing, Mom. The woods swallowed my voice. I ran back to the main trail. Arrow ran forward. Arrow turned. Arrow, the smell became unbearable. I pinched my nose, breathed through my mouth. That only made me taste it. At some point, I started crying. Not dramatic sobbing. Tears coming because my body had run out of other ways to express fear. Something didn't want me leaving. That thought became impossible to ignore. The path wasn't broken. I was being kept. But the strange thing was the treehouse. The smell weakened there. The looping felt different. Almost as if whatever controlled the main road didn't fully understand that side trail, or couldn't control it as easily. I stood beneath the red arrow, trying to think. Forward failed. Back failed. Treehouse looped eventually. Then I remembered something. Every time I walked far down the main path and turned around, I returned to the arrow almost immediately. What if I used that? Instead of trying to reach home, I would walk away from it, back toward the bus stop. Then, if the trail stretched strangely, maybe turning would drop me somewhere else. It was desperate, but I had nothing else. I faced the direction I had originally come from, started running. The path stretched. Of course. Trees, darkness, no bus stop. I ran for maybe 7 minutes. My lungs burned. Eventually, I stopped, bent forward, hands on knees, tried to breathe. The smell was weaker here, not gone. Then I heard something wet behind me. Not footsteps yet. Something shifting. I straightened, turned my head. There was something standing on the trail, far enough away that darkness hid most details. But tall, far too tall. At first, my brain tried to make it a person. Maybe an adult. Maybe somebody looking for me. Then moonlight came through the trees. The surface of the thing reflected. Glossy, wet, its body was narrow. Long arms. Its head seemed tilted strangely. No visible clothing, no clear face. Just black shape and wet shine. I froze. It made a sound, low, deep, a bubbling rumble, like someone trying to speak while drowning. My skin went cold. The thing shifted. One step. The sound its foot made was wet. Slap. I backed away. It made the choking sound again. I turned, ran. The second I did, it sprinted. I heard it. God, I can still hear it. Fast, wet, heavy, not the rhythm of a human running. Too many impacts, like long limbs striking the ground with too much force. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Every survival instinct I had screamed that if I saw it clearly, something worse would happen. So I ran. My backpack bounced against my shoulders. Branches whipped my face. I slipped once. Recovered behind me, slap, 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 slap. Closer, I cried openly now. Help. Nothing, please. The thing made that underwater gurgle. Closer, my legs were giving out. I could feel it. That horrible moment when your brain demands speed and your body simply has no more. The footsteps closed the distance. I waited for something to touch my shoulder. Instead, something yanked me backward with incredible force. I hit the ground. Hard air left my lungs. I screamed and threw my arms over my face. I expected claws, teeth, that wet black thing falling over me. Then I heard, oh God, a woman. Oh my God, it's him, my mom. I opened my eyes. She was above me, crying, hands grabbing my shoulders. She pulled me upright and hugged me. Where were you? I started sobbing against her. Everything inside me collapsed. Safe. I was safe. Mom, she held me tighter. It's been 5 hours. What? 5 hours? Where were you? I don't know. My words came in broken pieces. I was walking home, and then I got lost, and the road, don't ever do that again. I didn't mean to. Please, I'm sorry. Her arms wrapped around me. Her jacket felt cool. I buried my face against her shoulder. The relief was so intense, I almost fainted. 5 hours. I had left the bus sometime around 4. It should have been maybe 5:30. Instead, it was fully dark. That explained why she was out looking, why she had found me. She stroked the back of my head. It's okay. I cried. I thought something was chasing me. Shh, I saw something. You're safe. Her voice was warm. Familiar, my mother. I wanted to stay inside that hug forever. Then she said, I still have leftovers from dinner. Uncle Joey saved some for you. Everything stopped. Not the woods. Me, my breathing, my crying. My heart seemed to pause between beats. I slowly lifted my head. What? Food, she smiled. Uncle Joey saved you a plate. I stared at her. I don't have an Uncle Joey. Silence. My mother's smile remained too long. I tried pulling away. Her arms tightened. Mom? No answer. The smell returned. Rotten eggs. Laundry detergent. Strong, so strong my eyes watered. It was coming from her. No, I pushed. Her fingers dug into my back. Not fingernails. Fingers longer than they should have been. Cold, wet, I felt something slick soak through my shirt where her hands touched me. Let go. She hugged tighter. You're safe. Same voice. Perfect, but now that I was listening, I heard something beneath it. A gurgle. Water deep in the throat. You're safe, I screamed. Her face moved closer. Still my mother. Almost, the proportions shifted when the moonlight hit. Her neck slightly too long, eyes too dark, smile held too perfectly. I kicked. She stumbled. That surprised her. Her grip loosened. I tore free. The body in front of me bent strangely at the waist, then straightened. For a second, the skin of my mother's face seemed to slide, not fall. Slide, like a mask adjusting. Beneath the chin, something glossy caught the light, the same wet black surface I had seen on the trail. I ran, again, I didn't know where. Away, that was enough. Behind me, Mom called, wait. I ran faster. Come back. Her voice, then Dad's. Son. Then Caleb. Hey. Then my own voice. Stop. I covered my ears while running. The path twisted. Trees flashed past. The red arrow appeared. I almost screamed when I saw it. Left. Treehouse. I turned. The smell faded. Behind me, the voices stopped. Not gradually. Instantly, I reached the treehouse. Climbed, pulled the ladder up behind me. Ridiculous defense. That thing could probably reach the platform without climbing. Still, I crouched there, shaking. The woods beyond the platform were silent. Then, something circled below. I couldn't see it. Wet footsteps. Slow slap, pause, slap. The platform trembled slightly. I held my breath. My phone showed 9:47. No service. Battery 12%. I tried calling 911 anyway. Nothing, tried Mom. Nothing, text. I'm at treehouse, please help. Failed below, my mother's voice said. Come down. I covered my mouth. Honey? The thing scratched the tree trunk. Please, then. It's cold. That almost broke me. My mother hated being cold. Everybody knew that. No, not everybody. This thing knew. You're making me worry. I cried silently. Then another voice came from farther away. My actual mother. Jamie. I froze. The thing below froze, too. That is the name I'm using here. Not my real one. Again. Jamie. Farther toward the main trail. Flashlight beams appeared between trees. People, voices, Dad, neighbors, I almost answered. Then remembered. The thing had already used their voices. How could I know? The wet footsteps below moved away, toward the voices. That terrified me. If those were really my family, I whispered, no. Then someone shouted something only my dad would know. A stupid phrase. Whenever I was little and got scared, he used to say, who's tougher than Batman? And I had to answer, me. It was stupid. Private, he hadn't said it in years. From the woods, who's tougher than Batman? I broke. M.E. Flashlights turned. There. People ran, real footsteps, normal footsteps. The wet thing made a horrible choking roar. Then, something crashed through brush away from the treehouse. Dad reached me first. Real Dad. I knew because he swore when he saw the ladder missing. Mom came behind him. My real mother. Same face. Same jacket? No, different jacket. Dry, warm, she looked destroyed. Eyes swollen from crying. When she hugged me, I flinched. She noticed. What happened? I smelled her. Laundry detergent. Normal laundry detergent. No sulfur. No rot. I started crying again. They got me home. Police had been searching. Neighbors, volunteer fire department. Apparently, I had never arrived after getting off the bus. Somebody remembered seeing me turn onto our road around 4:10. Then, nothing. 5 hours. The strangest part came when police asked where they found me. Dad said the old treehouse. One officer looked confused. What treehouse? I explained. Red Arrow. Side path. Platform, Dad knew it too. He had helped Caleb's father bring us lumber once, the officer said. We searched that section. What? Twice, he showed Dad a map. Search teams had passed within maybe 30 yards of where I claimed to be. No one heard me. No treehouse. Dad became angry. Said they missed it. Officer insisted the GP's tracks showed they covered the area. The next morning, Dad took me back. I didn't want to go. He said daylight would help. Mom refused to come. We followed the normal road. Everything worked. Red Arrow. 10 minutes later, our clearing. House, no looping. No smell. We returned to the arrow. Turned left. Treehouse. There, normal, Dad climbed. Looked around. See? I didn't. The platform felt wrong again. That carving beneath C+J. The small arrow pointing down. Still there. I showed Dad. Did you make this? No, Caleb? I don't know. Then Dad noticed something on the tree behind the platform. A mark. Not carving. Black smear. Glossy. He touched it. It stretched between his fingers like thick grease. The smell hit. Rotten eggs. Detergent. I screamed at him not to touch it. We left. I never used that road alone again. For the rest of the time we lived there, Mom drove me from the bus stop, whenever possible. If she couldn't, I walked with someone. I never saw the tall thing again. At least, not clearly. There were little incidents. A voice once called my name from the woods when nobody was there. Another time, I smelled sulfur near the Red Arrow and turned around immediately. Once, I saw someone standing far down the road. My mother. She waved. I knew Mom was at work. I ran back to the bus stop. We moved 2 years later. Not because of what happened. Dad got another job. At least, that's what I believed. Years after moving, I asked Mom whether the incident had influenced their decision. She became quiet. Then, your father saw it too. My stomach dropped. What? She told me that about 6 months after my disappearance, Dad came home late. Pale, shaking. He wouldn't explain. That night, Mom heard him vomiting. The next morning, he told her they needed to move. He never told me. Dad died several years ago. Heart attack, I never got to ask. But after the funeral, Mom gave me a box of his things. Documents, old photos, keys, a notebook. Dad wasn't a journal person. Most pages were work notes, measurements, phone numbers, grocery lists. Near the back, I found a date, the year after my incident. Under it, Red Arrow. Then smells started before Bend. Heard Jamie behind me. Knew Jamie was at school. Did not answer. Next line, saw Margaret near house. Margaret is my mother. Then, remember rule, familiar voice comes first. I read that sentence several times. Rule? What rule? Next page. Dad had written Joey again. My hands started shaking. Uncle Joey. The name the fake version of Mom used. I had never told Dad that detail. I was certain. After what happened, I told my parents about the thing chasing me and something looking like Mom. But I was so frightened and confused that I never explained everything. I never mentioned the leftovers. Never mentioned Joey. Yet there it was. Joey again. Below, ask Margaret if she remembers brother. Do not say name first. Next, she says she never had brother. Good then, treehouse is anchor. Arrow may not point to it. May point away, I felt sick. More entries. Different dates. Smell near trail. Voices. A tall, wet shape once standing beside the house. Dad had started mapping incidents. Every one happened near dusk or after dark. Every one involved the Red Arrow tree. Then, the final entry. 3 weeks before we decided to move, I followed it tonight. That sentence alone made me stop. Dad had followed the thing. He wrote that he smelled sulfur near the road, saw someone shaped like me, teenage me, standing beside the arrow. It turned left, toward the treehouse. Dad followed, past the platform, farther than Caleb and I had ever gone. According to his notes, the woods eventually changed. Not physically. The trees were familiar, but their positions repeated. Same broken branch, same stone, same stump, again and again. Then he found another red arrow, painted on a tree, pointing left, and another treehouse, same platform. Older, rotting inside, carved into the plank wall, C+J. Below it, 1978. I wasn't born in 1978. Neither was Caleb. Dad wrote, not ours. Then, something uses landmarks. Copies safe places. Does not understand relationships. This explains Joey. It knows family exists. Fills gaps. My throat tightened reading that. The fake mother had gotten almost everything right. Voice, face, concern, the way she hugged me. But it invented an uncle, because it understood what an uncle was, not who mine were. Dad's final lines were messier. I found what the arrow marks, not direction. Boundary when smell begins, already inside. Do not walk path. Do not turn back. Go left. Reach treehouse. Climb. Wait for real voices. Test them with memory. If it knows memory, ask another. It learns. Then the last sentence. It followed me home this time. No entries after that. We moved less than a month later. Mom claimed she never knew about the notebook. Maybe Dad was trying to protect us. Maybe he thought distance would help. It did. Mostly, I'm in my 30s now. I live several states away. Normal neighborhood. Paved streets. Neighbors close enough that I can see their porch lights. No long dirt road. No woods directly behind my house. For years, nothing happened. I almost convinced myself the whole experience was some kind of lost child panic. Time distortion from fear. A stranger in the woods. Maybe Mom had found me, and I hallucinated the Uncle Joey line. Dad's notebook ruined that explanation. But even then, I tried. Shared memory. Maybe I had told him and forgotten. Maybe he became obsessed because of my story. Anything. Then last week, my daughter came home from school. She's 9. She dropped her backpack in the kitchen. Normal, then said, Dad? Yeah? Who's Uncle Joey? I dropped the plate I was holding. It broke. She jumped. Why did you do that? Where did you hear that name? She shrugged. A man? What man? On the road. What road? The one behind school. My hands went cold. There is a small wooded walking trail behind her school. Nothing like my childhood road. Paved in parts. Popular. Families use it. She said her friend had dropped a bracelet near the beginning of the trail, so they went looking after an activity club. They found it. Then my daughter smelled something, like eggs and Mom's laundry soap. I sat down. She continued. There was a red arrow on a tree. Someone had painted it. Fresh, pointing left. She said her friend wanted to follow it. My daughter didn't. Thank God. As they walked away, someone behind them called her name. She looked. A man stood near the arrow. Tall, dark clothes. She couldn't see his face. He said, Uncle Joey saved dinner. My daughter asked me why an uncle she didn't know would be saving dinner for her. I didn't answer. I called the school. Then police. Then, Mom. Mom started crying before I finished. Yesterday, I went to that trail in daylight. I know I shouldn't have, but I needed to see. The arrow is there. Red, same shape. Same crooked angle Caleb and I painted when we were kids. I walked left. 50 yards in, I found a platform between 3 trees. Treehouse. 3-foot ladder. 1 wooden plank for a wall. Fresh enough that somebody could have built it last month. Carved into the plank, C+J. Below, you came home. And beneath that, now she can too. I left. We're staying in a hotel tonight. My wife thinks we should move. I agree. But Dad moved. It still found us. That is what scares me. Maybe the thing was never attached to the Pennsylvania woods. Maybe it attached itself to me because I escaped. Or maybe escape is the wrong word. Maybe I didn't get out at all. Maybe that 5-hour path never ended. Maybe everything since then has been another copied safe place. A house. A family. A life. Something carefully assembled from what it learned about me. That thought sounds insane until I remember how cold my mother felt when she hugged me on the trail. How perfectly she looked like herself. How close I was to accepting her because I needed so badly for the nightmare to be over. I called Mom earlier tonight. Real Mom. At least I think so. I tested her. I asked what Dad used to say when I was frightened as a kid. She laughed. Who's tougher than Batman? Relief, then she asked why. I told her. She became quiet. After a while, she said, your dad had another test. What? He told me if either of us ever came home from the woods acting strange, I was supposed to ask about the hospital. What hospital? That was the test. I didn't understand. What do you mean? We've never had a hospital story. That was smart. A false memory. Something that knew our past might answer. Something only copying structure might invent details. Mom said if someone gives you an answer, it isn't us. I wrote it down. Hospital, no story. My daughter is asleep in the hotel bed beside my wife. I'm awake. Obviously, around midnight, somebody knocked on our door. 3 times. I didn't answer. Then my mother's voice said, it's me. Mom lives 6 hours away. My wife woke. I put 1 finger to my lips. The voice outside, Jamie? I called Mom. She answered from home. I kept her on speaker. Outside, her voice said, open the door. On my phone, Mom started crying. The thing outside scratched lightly at the wood. Then Dad spoke. My dead father. Who's tougher than Batman? I almost answered automatically. That is why Dad's test was dangerous. The thing learned. Of course it learned. It had heard us use it in the woods. It knew that one. Then Dad's voice said, ask me about the hospital. My blood turned cold. My wife stared at me. It knew that too. How? Nobody outside our family could have heard the phone call, unless it had been listening. Mom whispered through my phone, don't say anything. The thing outside laughed. Wet, gurgling, then Uncle Joey? My daughter woke. She sat upright. Dad? The hallway outside went silent. Then someone scratched a red arrow beneath our hotel door. I watched it form, red line, pointing left, toward the wall. Not the hallway, the wall. The smell is starting now. Rotten eggs. Cheap laundry detergent. My wife smells it too. So this time, I know I'm not imagining it. There is no treehouse here, no side trail, no familiar platform to run to. But the arrow is pointing at the wall. And about 5 minutes ago, a small door appeared there. We are on the 4th floor. That wall used to hold a mirror. Now there is a narrow wooden door with no handle. Cold air is leaking around its edges. My daughter keeps saying she hears birds on the other side. My wife says she hears our neighbors. I hear Dad. He keeps telling me it doesn't know what's past the treehouse. The same thought I had as a teenager. Maybe that was never my thought. Maybe he was trying to tell me something even then. The door just opened by itself. There are trees beyond it. Night, a dirt road, a red arrow on a trunk. And farther to the left, barely visible between branches, a little platform. The treehouse. My daughter just whispered, "I've been there." I asked when. She looked confused. Then, in a dream, outside our hotel room, something started running down the hallway. Wet footsteps. Fast, the same sound. The same impossible sprint I heard decades ago. My wife grabbed our daughter. I'm standing beside the open door. The smell from the hallway is getting stronger. The air through the doorway smells like normal woods. Leaves, cold dirt. Pine, safe, or pretending to be safe. The footsteps outside stopped directly in front of our hotel room. Someone knocked. My mother's voice. "Please let me in." Mom is still on my phone. She heard it. She said, "Go left." So we're going through the door. I don't know whether that is what it wants. I don't know whether my childhood treehouse was ever a refuge or simply the next part of the trap. But there is one thing Dad wrote that I understand now. When the smell begins, you're already inside. The hotel is gone behind us. We stepped through the door and it closed. My phone still has enough signal to type this. Somehow, the treehouse is ahead. The red arrow points left. My daughter is holding my hand. My wife is behind me. And there are 4 sets of footsteps. Ours should make 3. I stopped walking. My wife stopped. My daughter stopped. The 4th pair took one more step. Just one. Then, silence. I'm not turning around. Not yet. Because 20 years ago, I thought the monster was chasing me out of the woods. Now I think I had that backwards. I think it was trying to make sure I reached the person waiting at the end of the trail. The one who looked like my mother. The one who almost convinced me I was home. And this time, it knows I won't believe my mother. So whatever is walking behind us has started using my daughter's voice. It just whispered, "Dad, wait." My daughter is still holding my hand. I can feel her fingers trembling. The voice behind us spoke again. "Perfectly, Dad. You're going the wrong way." Ahead, near the treehouse, someone has turned on a light. A woman stands on the platform. My wife. Same clothes, same face. She is smiling. The real one behind me has started crying. The woman ahead raises one hand and waves. Then she calls, "Hurry. Uncle Joey saved dinner." And the smell has just started coming from both directions. I work as a dishwasher at the New Heem Steakhouse. At least I think that is still my job. It's my first real job, so I don't have much to compare it to. When I started a few months ago, I assumed every restaurant kitchen worked the same way. Fast, loud, hot, and constantly one mistake away from collapsing. The New Heem isn't some fancy place with tiny portions and chefs shouting in French. It's a steakhouse. Big portions, heavy plates, cast iron pans, too much butter, too much salt, and customers who think ordering a 22-ounce steak gives them permission to treat the staff like servants. My job is simple. Wash dishes. Get pans back to the cooks as quickly as possible. Keep cutlery moving. If the dish pit is empty, clean it. If the dish pit is already clean, clean the walls. If the walls look clean, scrub them anyway, because, according to Daniel, grease doesn't care if you can see it. Daniel is the sous chef. He's probably in his mid-30s, though the constant stress of kitchen work makes him look older. He has a shaved head, a short beard, and the permanent expression of someone who has just discovered a problem and somehow decided, it is your fault. Then there's Mark, the manager, and Mr. Vale, the owner. All 3 were extremely strict when I first started. No phones in the back. No standing around, no long bathroom breaks, no headphones, no sneaking fries, no disappearing for a cigarette if you weren't actually scheduled for a break. The first week, I thought I was going to quit. My hands were constantly wrinkled from hot water. My forearms had little burns from grabbing pans that weren't as cool as I thought. I smelled like grease even after showering. But after a while, I got used to it. There is something satisfying about restaurant work when you finally learn the rhythm. Dirty plates arrive. Scrape, rinse, rack, machine, stack, repeat. The kitchen screams behind you. Tickets print. Someone needs saucepans. Someone needs soup spoons. Someone dropped a tray. Some customer wants a steak remade because apparently medium means something different depending on how entitled you are. You just keep moving. And eventually the shift ends. For the first couple months, the bosses acted like the back of the restaurant was a military base. Nobody came in unless they worked there. Delivery people stopped at the storage entrance. Servers stayed mostly near the line. Customers were absolutely forbidden. Daniel once yelled at a guy for leaning through the kitchen door because he wanted to personally compliment the chef. "Health code," Daniel shouted. The customer laughed. Daniel didn't. That's why I noticed when they suddenly started letting strangers come into the back. It began maybe 8 or 9 days ago. At first, I thought they were friends of Mr. Vale. The first man came through the kitchen around 7 in the evening. Nobody stopped him. He wasn't wearing a uniform, no apron, no non-slip shoes, just jeans and a gray jacket. He walked past the line while Daniel was plating steaks. Daniel didn't even look up. The guy stopped near the dish pit, looked directly at me, then said, "You still building orcs?" I nearly dropped a plate. "What?" He smiled. Warhammer. I had never seen this man before in my life. But yes, I had recently started putting together an orc army. I'm not embarrassed about that. Everyone has hobbies. Mine just involves spending ridiculous amounts of money on tiny plastic soldiers and then spending even more time painting them badly. I laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, green tide? Trying." He nodded. "Good choice." Then he left. That was weird, but not terrifying. Maybe Daniel had mentioned it. Maybe somebody had seen me scrolling through pictures during my break. Restaurants are small social worlds. Everybody eventually knows everything about everybody. The next night, a woman came into the back, maybe 50, red-coat. She stood beside the shelves while I loaded silverware. "You ever finish Chainsaw Man?" I turned. "What?" "The manga." I stared. I had been reading it. She smiled. "Good stuff." Then she walked away. I asked one of the servers, "Who was that?" She looked toward the kitchen door. "Who?" "The woman in red." "What woman?" I thought she was messing with me. Never mind. After that, more people started appearing. Not constantly. 1 or 2 a night. Sometimes none. They always knew something about me. A game I played. A show I had started. A YouTube channel I watched. Once a guy asked whether I had finally replaced the fan in my PC. Nobody at work knew my computer fan was broken. At least, I didn't remember telling anyone. That was when I started paying more attention. The strange thing was that the bosses never reacted. I would see somebody standing near the dish pit, clearly not an employee, and Daniel would walk right past them. Mark would come through carrying paperwork. Nothing, Mr. Vale would appear from his office. Nothing, no one asked why these people were in the kitchen. So I assumed they had permission. Maybe relatives. Maybe investors. Maybe the restaurant had regulars who were close with the owner. The new Hiem had apparently been around for decades. People knew the place. Still, I found it strange how comfortable the visitors seemed. Nobody looked around with that curiosity people usually have when they see the back of a restaurant. No. Oh, wow. So this is where everything happens. No complaints about the heat. No questions. They acted like they already knew the layout. Then I met Ray. That's the name he gave me anyway. The first time was 6 days ago. I was washing dishes after a brutal dinner rush. A table of 13 had come in without a reservation, then somehow managed to use enough plates for 30 people. Steaks, appetizers, desserts, seconds, extra sides. Every time I thought the wave was ending, another bus tub appeared. I was standing there elbow deep in disgusting water when someone said, "Hey, Andrew, what's cracking on your side of the shell?" I turned. Ray, tall guy, maybe early 40s, dark hair, clean clothes. That smile. I noticed the smile immediately. It showed too many teeth. I don't mean he had extra teeth. At least, I don't think so. I realized later that I genuinely don't know how many teeth an adult is supposed to show while smiling. His smile just seemed too wide for his face. Not horror movie wide, just enough that you wanted to look away. I smiled back. "Jack shit, my man. Didn't hear you come in." He leaned slightly against the counter. "You should really knock." He laughed. I liked him. That is important. Ray was weird, but he was easy to talk to. The first night, we talked about Warhammer. He knew more than I did. Not just casual stuff. Lore, old editions, obscure factions, things you don't know unless you spend far too much time reading wikis. The next night, manga, then games. He always seemed interested in exactly whatever I wanted to talk about. Never awkward, never boring. That alone should have bothered me more. Most conversations involve compromise. You talk about something they like, then something you like. Ray never needed that. He liked everything I liked. At the end of each conversation, he would say, "Peace, I'll see you later," then leave. I never saw him enter. That became strange after the third time. The dish pit faces most of the kitchen entrance. If someone comes through the back, I should notice. Yet Ray was always suddenly there. I would be washing. Look down. Look back up. "Ray, soup?" I started joking that he teleported. He thought that was hilarious. Yesterday, things changed. It was around 8:30, Friday night. The restaurant was packed. I was drowning again. Pans stacked on one side, plates on the other. Servers dropping silverware faster than I could sort it. I was already irritated. Ray appeared beside me. "Andrew, yeah? I've been thinking." "Dangerous," he smiled. "Maybe you should come work for me." I looked over. "What? Work for me?" I laughed. "You own a restaurant?" "No, what do you do?" His smile stayed exactly the same. "My job is simple." Everyone says that before explaining something complicated. He didn't laugh, he just watched me. That was unusual. Usually Ray reacted to everything. "Seriously," I said. "What do you do?" He didn't answer. I kept washing. I picked up a plate, rinsed it, placed it in the rack, reached for another. The moment my hand touched it, something cold wrapped around my forearm. Ray's hand. He was behind me. I had not seen him move. 1 second, he was several feet away. Then, his fingers were around my arm. Hard, not painful, just firm. I froze. "You can feel me, can't you?" His voice was wrong. It sounded like several people speaking at the same time. Male, female, young, old, all layered over each other. I stared at his hand. Cold, actually cold. My entire arm prickled. "Of course," I laughed nervously. "What kind of question is that?" His grip tightened slightly. "You can feel me." "Yeah, that's good." "Why are you?" I turned. It wasn't Ray. I don't know what it was. The shape was roughly human. Same height. Same clothes. But the face, I have trouble remembering it clearly. Every time I try, details move. His mouth looked like it was trying to smile without understanding what smiling required. One side pulled upward, the other stayed loose. His eyes were closed, not gently, squeezed shut. The skin around them wrinkled as if opening them took effort. His cheeks seemed too soft, almost unfinished. My job is simple. The thing chuckled. Dozens of voices. I tried pulling away. It raised my arm, straight over my head. I find people like you. What the fuck does that mean? It tilted its head. People who notice. My stomach dropped. Notice what? Its eyes started opening, very slowly. There was nothing behind the lids. Not blackness. Not empty sockets. Something reflective, like the surface of water in a room with no light. Then, Andrew, I jumped. Daniel, I spun toward him. He stood near the line staring at me. What the fuck are you doing? I looked back. Ray was gone. Completely. No footsteps. No movement. Nothing. Daniel pointed at my raised hand. You look fucking insane. I looked. My arm was still above my head. And I was holding a butter knife. I don't remember picking it up. The blade was pointed toward the ceiling. My hand shook. Daniel walked closer. Are you on drugs? No, then what the fuck is this? I looked around. Nothing, no Ray. No stranger. No weird creature, just dish pit. Steam, dirty plates, kitchen noise. And no, sir, didn't you see? Daniel stared. See what? I stopped. If I said a monster was holding me, I would lose my first job on the spot. I was stretching. It was the worst lie I have ever told. With a knife? I didn't realize I was holding it. Daniel's face changed slightly. Not anger. Concern. That scared me more. You concern me sometimes, dude. I'm fine. Put the knife down. I did. We're running out of sot pans. Wash the damn dishes. Okay. And make a run to the front for bus tubs. He walked away. I muttered, asshole. Not loud enough for him to hear. At least, I hope. I stood there for several minutes trying to calm down. My arm still felt cold where Ray had touched me. There were finger marks, not bruises, pale spots. 5 of them. I rubbed them. They disappeared after maybe 10 minutes. I kept working. What else could I do? For the rest of the night, I didn't see Ray. I kept expecting him. Every reflection in a steel pan. Every person crossing the corner of my vision. Nothing. When my shift ended, I found Daniel. Can I ask you something? He sighed. What? Who's Ray? He stared. Who? Ray, no clue. The guy who comes back here. What guy? My stomach tightened. The tall guy. Talks to me sometimes. Daniel frowned. Customers aren't allowed back here. What? You know that. No, lately you've been letting people back. He gave me the same concerned look. We haven't. Yes, you have. Andrew, like that woman in the red coat. What woman? And the guy with the gray jacket. He stared at me. No one. I laughed. Not because anything was funny. Come on. I'm serious. What about Mr. Vale's friends? Mr. Vale doesn't let friends in the kitchen. But I've been talking to them. Daniel's face became more serious. How long? A week. He glanced toward the manager's office. Then back at me. Have you been sleeping? What? Sleeping, yes, drugs? No. Anything new? Medication? No. Family history of anything? That pissed me off. You think I'm crazy. I think you were standing alone holding a knife over your head 20 minutes ago. I wasn't alone. Then who was with you? Ray, who nobody else saw. I had no answer. Daniel rubbed his face. Go home. I'm scheduled until close. I'll finish it. You're firing me? No, then. Andrew, go home. I left. I didn't want to. Going home felt like admitting something was wrong with me. But I also didn't want another episode. I live with my mother, so I didn't tell her. She already worries too much. I went upstairs, showered, sat at my computer, started searching. Hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, stress, schizophrenia symptoms, psychosis. I hated every result. I'm 19. I know some mental illnesses start around that age. That thought made me nauseous. I tried telling myself there were other possibilities. Exhaustion, working in a hot kitchen, dehydration, maybe cleaning chemicals, carbon monoxide, anything. Then I noticed something on my arm. One pale fingerprint had returned. Just one. I touched it. Cold. I slept badly. Around 3 in the morning, I woke because someone was talking downstairs. I thought Mom had the television on. Then I heard my name. Andrew, Ray. I sat up. Silence. I waited. Then, peace. From inside my closet. I didn't open it. I stayed in bed until sunrise. When I finally checked, no one was there. But my work shoes were sitting inside. I always leave them downstairs because they smell terrible. I asked Mom if she moved them. No, are you sure? Why would I touch those disgusting things? Fair. I went to work the next afternoon because I didn't want Daniel thinking I was unreliable. He barely said anything. Just, you good? Yeah, you sure? Yeah, okay. Then he put me on dish. No visitors appeared for the first 2 hours. I began relaxing. Maybe I had genuinely been exhausted. Then a girl came into the back, maybe 20. Blonde, green sweater. She leaned against the wall near me. You should paint your war boss red. I stopped. No, she smiled. Red ones go faster. I stared at her. Leave, her smile disappeared. What? You heard me. She tilted her head. Andrew? Get out. Why? I shouted Daniel. Daniel came running. What? I pointed. The girl was gone. Again, he stared at me. What? She was right there. His face sank. Andrew, no, go sit in the office. I'm not crazy. I didn't say that. She was standing right there. A server looked over. Then another. Everyone suddenly seemed quiet. Humiliation washed over me. Daniel lowered his voice. Office, now, I went. Mark, the manager, joined us. They asked questions. How much sleep? Any drugs? Alcohol? Medical conditions? I kept saying the same thing. I'm seeing people because there are people. Mark asked, do they touch you? I paused. Daniel noticed. What? Ray did. Ray? The guy from yesterday. Mark leaned forward. Where? My arm. Did it hurt? No. Did he ask anything? I told him. You can feel me, can't you? Mark's face changed. Just slightly. He looked at Daniel. Daniel looked back. I noticed. What? Neither answered. What was that? Mark stood. Take the rest of the night off. No, Andrew, you know something. No, you both just looked at each other. Daniel said, go home. What is happening? Nothing. You're lying. Mark's voice became hard. Enough. For the first time, I got angry enough to forget fear. You let them in. No, you know who they are. Stop, you know Ray. Mark's face went pale when I said the name. There, I saw it. You do. He looked away. Daniel muttered, fuck. I stood. What the fuck is going on? Mark closed the office door. Then locked it. That scared me immediately. Sit, I'm not sitting. Andrew, sit down. Daniel sounded different, not angry anymore. Scared, I sat. Mark asked, how many have you seen? I don't know. Count, maybe 6? Daniel cursed quietly. Over how many days? About a week. Mark asked, do they always talk about things you know? Yes, personal things. Sometimes things you never told anyone here. Yes, have they asked you to go anywhere? Ray offered me a job. Both men went completely still. What? I asked. Mark rubbed both hands over his face. Daniel walked to the office door and checked the lock again. What? Finally, Mark said, this place has rules. I laughed bitterly. No shit. Not kitchen rules. Then what? He stared at me. The new Hiem has been here since 1954. So? My grandfather opened it. I waited. He used to call them regulars. The people? Mark nodded. They aren't customers. What are they? We don't know. That's convenient. I'm serious. Then why haven't you said anything? Because most employees never see them. I stopped. Most? Daniel sat across from me. I've never seen one. But you know about them. My old chef did. Mark continued. They appear every few years. To who? Usually somebody new. Why? We don't know. Then why are you acting like you know exactly what's happening? Because we know the pattern. My stomach tightened. What pattern? They start with conversation. I said nothing. They learn what you like. They already knew. Mark's face tightened. Yes, how? We don't know. Stop saying that. I'm telling you the truth. What comes after conversation? Daniel answered. Touch. I looked at my arm. What after that? Neither spoke. What comes after that? Mark said, invitation. My throat went dry. Come work for me. I stared at them. What happens if I say yes? Daniel whispered. We don't know. Because? The people who say yes stop coming to work. I laughed. You mean they quit? No, Mark looked at me. They disappear. The room became very quiet. Police? Reports get filed. And? Nothing. How many? Mark looked toward the floor. Since my grandfather? Yes, 12. I stood again. No, Andrew, you're telling me 12 employees disappeared and nobody closed this place? Not all employees. What? Some were customers. My stomach turned. People who could see them. Mark nodded. What does that mean? That's the part we understand least. Daniel said most people can't see them. I thought of the woman in red, the gray jacket. Ray, Daniel walking directly past them. You really didn't see them. No, and when Ray touched me, you were alone. I rubbed my forearm. What does people like you mean? No answer. Ray said he finds people like me. Mark looked at me. People who can feel them. The room suddenly felt too small. I asked, what do I do? Mark took a long breath. You quit. I stared. That's it? You leave tonight. Will that stop it? No, then why quit? Because staying here gives them access. Access to what? Mark hesitated. To you. I laughed again. It came out almost hysterical. They were in my house. Daniel looked at me. What? Ray talked from my closet. Mark's face lost color. That's bad. Helpful he's never followed someone home this early. Great. Mark walked to a filing cabinet, unlocked it, took out a folder. Old, yellowed, he placed it on the desk. Inside were employee photographs. Dozens, some black and white, some color. Names, dates, a few had red circles around faces. I recognized one. Ray, same smile, same face. Photo dated 1987. I stared. No. Mark turned another page. 1972, Ray again. Different name under it. Another, 1999, same face. Another, 1961, same always slightly different clothes, same toothy smile. What is this? My grandfather collected sightings. I flipped through. The woman in the red coat. There, photo from 1983. The gray jacket man. 1976, the blonde girl who spoke to me earlier. 2004, all unchanged. My fingers went cold. They're dead? We don't know. Were they ever real people? Mark said nothing. That answer was enough. Then I saw another photograph. A dishwasher, young guy, maybe 18 or 19, standing beside the same dish pit. Photo dated 1994. There was writing beneath it. Seized them. Touch confirmed. Refused invitation. Last seen in freezer. I looked up. What happened? Mark whispered. They found his shoes. Where? Inside the freezer. Body? No, something knocked on the office door. 3 times. All of us froze. Daniel whispered, no one should be back here. Another knock. Then, Andrew? Ray, his normal voice. Friendly peace, man. My stomach dropped. Mark reached for the office phone. Daniel grabbed his wrist. No, why? You know the rule. I stared. What rule? Ray knocked again. "You in there?" Mark whispered. "Do not answer them through a closed door." "Why?" "Because that counts as letting them know where you are. They already know." Daniel shook his head. "Not exactly." Ray's voice changed. Multiple voices. "We know you can hear us." The fluorescent light above the office flickered. Mark opened the folder again, pulled out a handwritten note. He pushed it toward me. "Do not name them. Do not accept work. Do not follow. If touched, do not touch back." My stomach dropped. I remembered campus in the other story. No, here I offered a handshake. In this story, Ray grabbed forearm and raised. I didn't touch back, except maybe no. "Good, but we can add perhaps not yet." I whispered. I didn't touch him. Daniel looked relieved. "Good." Then I remembered something. When he grabbed me, I tried pulling his hand off. Mark's face changed. "With your hand?" "Yes." "Which one?" "My right." Daniel closed his eyes. "Fuck. What?" Mark pointed to another line lower on the page. "Reciprocal contact ec interview." "What does that mean?" No one answered. The office lights went out. Complete darkness. Then something spoke directly behind me. "My job is simple." I screamed. Daniel switched on his phone flashlight. Nothing behind me. But the office wall had changed. There was a door where the filing cabinet had been. Metal, grease-stained, a small window in the center. Through it, I could see the dish pit. Except it wasn't our dish pit. The walls were older. Tile cracked. Lights yellow. And dozens of people stood around the sinks, all of them washing dishes. Men, women, different uniforms, different decades. Some looked ancient, some young. Everyone worked silently. A person stood behind each of them. Watching, smiling, Ray was standing at the center. He looked through the window. At me. Then lifted one hand. "Come here." Mark whispered. "Don't open it." I wasn't planning to. Ray smiled wider. "You asked what I do." The voices layered again. "I find people like you." One of the dishwashers behind him turned. Young man, 1994 photo, same face. Older now, much older. His hands were raw, skin peeling away from constant water. He mouthed, "Don't." Ray noticed. His head snapped toward him, not turning naturally. Instantly, the old dishwasher looked down and kept working. My heart pounded. "What is that place?" Mark whispered. "Where they take workers." "You knew?" "No. You had photos." We guessed. The door handle moved. "Locked." Ray's voice came through. "We need hands." Daniel said, "Don't listen. Hands that clean." The door shook. Hands that notice. The fluorescent lights came back. The strange door vanished. Filing cabinet returned. We all stood there, breathing hard. Then someone outside the office shouted, "Fire. Kitchen, chaos." Daniel unlocked the door. "Stay here." Fuck that. We went out. Smoke near the line. A pan fire. Nothing huge. Staff scrambling. Extinguisher for 30 seconds. Everything was normal again. Then I looked toward the dish pit. Every stranger I had seen that week stood around it. Woman in red. Gray jacket man. Blonde girl. Others Ray in the middle. Nobody else reacted. They all stared at me. Smiling, the blonde girl lifted a plate. Dirty, placed it in the sink. The red-coated woman added a pan. Then the gray jacket man. Then another. Soon the sink filled. Not with restaurant dishes. Old things. Rusty knives. Broken plates. Bone-white bowls. Metal trays stained dark brown. A child's cup. A hospital pan. Objects from different places. Different times. Ray pointed. "Wash." I backed away. Daniel grabbed my shoulder. "What are you seeing?" "They're filling the sink. There's nothing there." To him, the dish pit was empty. To me, it overflowed. Ray smiled. "My job is simple." I whispered no. His smile twitched. "Wash, no." Every stranger's expression disappeared. Blank faces. The kitchen noise faded. Not stopped. Faded like someone had closed a thick door between me and reality. Ray stepped closer. You work. I quit. That was the first thing I thought of. Mark had said quit, so I said it louder. I quit. Ray stopped, his head tilted. All the others did the same, at exactly the same angle. Then Ray laughed. Dozens of voices. You already clocked in. I looked toward the time clock. My employee card was inserted. I hadn't put it there. The display read, shift start, 7:11 p.m. shift end, no end time. Daniel shook me. Andrew, I could barely hear him. The strangers moved closer. I reached for my time card. Ray's hand closed around mine. Cold, you can feel me. I screamed. Daniel saw my arm jerk upward. From his perspective, nothing held me. But this time, he believed me. He grabbed me around the waist. Pulled, Mark joined. For 1 second, I felt like I was being torn in two directions. My coworkers pulling backward. Ray pulling forward. His face opened, not mouth. Face, the smile split farther across both cheeks. Behind the skin was not flesh, more faces, dozens pressed together, mouths moving. Andrew, 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 come work. I grabbed the time card with my free hand, pulled, it wouldn't move. Daniel screamed, cut the power. Mark ran, everything shut off. Dishwasher, lights, hoods, refrigeration hum, complete dark. Ray's grip disappeared. I fell backward into Daniel. Emergency lights came on. No strangers. Time card on the floor. Normal. We left. Immediately, Mark closed the restaurant, told customers there was an electrical problem. I went home with Daniel. He refused to let me stay alone. I asked why he cared so much after treating me like an idiot. He said, because my brother disappeared here. That shut me up. He had been a dishwasher too, 17, 20, 1 year ago. He started seeing people. Nobody believed him. One night, he vanished. Only his apron remained. Daniel became a cook at New Heem years later because he wanted answers. He never saw the visitors himself. Until yesterday, he thought maybe his brother had run away. Now he believes me. I wish that made me feel better. It doesn't. Because around 4 this morning, while sitting in Daniel's living room, we heard water running in his kitchen. He went to check. Sink full of dirty dishes. Not his dishes. Old plates. Rusty knives. A hospital tray. The same ones I saw at work. On top was a note, written in Greece. First jobs last forever. Daniel wanted to call Mark. His phone wouldn't work. Mine did. I checked the New Heem employee scheduling app. My name was gone. Good, then I checked the staff list. There was a new employee. Dishwasher Andrew, no last name. Start date, 1954. I refreshed, same profile picture loaded. Me, except older, much older. Skin pale, smile too wide, standing beside the dish pit. Ray behind me. Hand on my shoulder, I deleted the app. My phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. Peace. I'll see you later. Then another. Your shift starts at 7. I'm not going. I don't care if they fire me. I don't care if I never work in a restaurant again. Daniel says we should leave town. Maybe, but Mark called an hour ago. He sounded terrified. New Heem opened this morning, even though he never unlocked it. Staff arrived and found everything running. Grill hot. Lights on. Dishwasher. Running. No one inside. Except security footage showed someone in the dish pit. Me from 3:11 a.m. until 6:00, washing dishes. I was at Daniel's house the entire time. He has cameras. He can prove it. Mark sent me one frame. I shouldn't have opened it. The person who looks like me is standing at the sink, head lowered, hands in the water. Behind him are maybe 20 figures. Ray, the others, and one more. A young man in a 2003 New Heem uniform. Daniel saw the photo and started crying. His brother, same age as the night he disappeared. He is standing directly behind my copy. His hands rest on its shoulders. Unlike the others, he isn't smiling. He is looking into the camera. His mouth is open. Mark enhanced the frame. We can make out what he seems to be saying. Don't let him finish the shift. I don't know what that means. Maybe the thing washing dishes isn't me yet. Maybe it becomes me when the shift ends. Maybe Ray isn't recruiting employees because they need labor. Maybe he's finding replacements. People who can see them, feel them. People whose place in this world can be copied closely enough for something else to wear it. I keep thinking about the visitors knowing everything I like. Warhammer, manga, my computer. They weren't making conversation. They were interviewing me, learning me, building a version. I thought Ray was friendly because he agreed with everything I said. Of course he did. He was collecting answers. My hobbies, my jokes, how I talk, how I react, how I smile. The thing in the security footage probably knows all of that now. Maybe that's why its smile already looks wrong. It hasn't practiced enough. Daniel just got another call from Mark. The copy is still there. It has been washing the same plate for almost an hour. At exactly 6:43, it stopped, turned toward the camera, then smiled. Ray stepped beside it. The copy's mouth moved. Mark says it said, "You can feel me, can't you?" Then the footage cut out. It is 6:51 now. My shift starts at 7. 7 minutes ago, somebody knocked on Daniel's front door. We didn't answer. Another knock. Then Daniel's brother called from outside. "Danny?" Daniel almost opened it. I stopped him. The voice started crying. "Please, Daniel is sitting on the floor now with his hands over his ears." The knocking stopped. Then someone walked around to the back of the house. The kitchen faucet turned on again. We haven't checked. I can hear dishes clattering. A lot of dishes. More than could fit in that kitchen. And from the hallway behind us, Ray just said, "Andrew." I haven't turned around. Daniel is staring over my shoulder. His face has gone completely white. Ray chuckled. Multiple voices. "Don't be late for your first day." I told him I quit. He laughed. Then corrected me. No, the kitchen dishwasher started running even though Daniel doesn't own one. Ray is closer now. I can feel cold fingers resting on my forearm. I'm not looking. I'm not touching him. I'm typing this with my other hand. He keeps repeating, "My job is simple." I finally asked, "What job?" The room went quiet. Then all those voices answered together. I find people who can replace the ones who finally notice they're dead. Daniel just whispered, "Andrew." I looked at him. He isn't looking at Ray. He's looking at me, specifically at my chest. I asked what was wrong. He pointed. My uniform. I'm wearing my new HEM uniform. I wasn't 10 minutes ago. My apron is wet. My hands smell like dishwater. There is dried blood beneath my fingernails. And my phone says the time is 7:04. I must have missed the start of my shift. The worst part is that I can hear the restaurant now. Not outside. Behind the wall. Plates, pans, servers shouting, the ticket printer, Daniel's brother crying, and Ray's voice right beside my ear. Peace, a door has appeared in the hallway. Steel, grease around the edges. Through the little window, I can see the dish pit. Someone is standing at the sink with his back to me. Same height, same hair, my clothes. He just turned around. It has my face. Almost the smile is too wide. It lifted one hand and waved. Then it stepped away from the sink, leaving the position empty. Ray squeezed my arm. "See? He sounds pleased. We found someone like you." And from the other side of the door, every dishwasher who disappeared from Newham since 1954 has started knocking on the glass.
We will get back to the next confession in a moment. If you are new here, subscribe to Dead Air Confessions for more real stories from people who experienced something they still cannot explain. Your support helps keep these late-night broadcasts alive. You can also leave a like and tell me which story has unsettled you the most so far. Now, let's return to the signal.
I'm 52 years old, and I've been living in eastern Pennsylvania for a while now. It has been about 10 years since the war ended for me. I don't like talking about that part of my life much. Most people hear war and want stories. They want to know what it was like, whether I killed anyone, whether I was scared, whether I still dream about it. They expect something dramatic. The only part that matters here is what happened to my leg. I was shot through the thigh. The damage was bad enough that I never properly recovered. I can stand for short periods if I have something solid to hold on to, but walking more than a few steps is almost impossible. Most of the time, I use a wheelchair. I hate it. I don't say that because I'm ashamed of being disabled. I say it because I spent most of my life being independent, and there is something humiliating about needing another person just because a cupboard was built too high or because you dropped something in the wrong place. For years, I lived in a high-rise apartment closer to town. It wasn't perfect, but it suited me. Elevators, wide hallways, shops nearby, people around. My son visited whenever he could. Then 6 months ago, things changed. My son suggested I move. Suggested is probably the polite version. He and his wife had been helping me more often, especially after I had a few falls. His wife never complained directly, but I could tell she wanted more privacy. They had their own family, their own life, and I suppose having an aging father constantly nearby wasn't part of her plan. Maybe that sounds bitter. I probably am bitter. She wasn't the woman I would have chosen for him either, but that is another story and has nothing to do with what happened. The new house was farther from town. Small, single story. Old enough that even I thought some of the design choices looked ancient. But the rent was cheap. More importantly, it was easier for me to move around. No stairs. Wide enough rooms. A small ramp had already been installed by the front entrance for a previous tenant. The walls had cheap white wallpaper covered with pale floral patterns. The sort of wallpaper that somehow always looks slightly yellow, even when it's clean. The house used fluorescent bulbs in nearly every room, and they gave everything a tired, sickly color. The carpets were rough. My wheelchair handled them badly at first, but I got used to it. If I wore house slippers when I needed to stand, I could make things work. Honestly, when I first arrived, I thought the place was good enough. Then I met Carol. My son had arranged for someone to help me around the house. He said she came highly recommended. Carol looked like she was in her mid-40s, maybe younger, maybe older. Some people have faces that are difficult to age. She had brown hair that she usually kept tied back and a round, pleasant face. Her smile was the first thing I noticed. Warm, comforting, the kind of smile that made you feel as though everything was already under control. There was also something calming about the way she spoke. Never rushed, never irritated. She called me sir even after I told her she didn't have to. The first morning she arrived, she stood in the doorway holding 2 grocery bags and said, "Don't worry, we'll get you settled." And I believed her. I remember thinking my son hadn't completely abandoned me after all. For the first month, everything was fine. Carol kept a strict routine. She arrived every morning at exactly 7. Not 7:05. Not 10 to 7. 7, she swept the floors, mopped the parts without carpet, cleaned the bathroom, and did whatever else needed to be done. Then she made breakfast, usually eggs, toast, sometimes oatmeal. She prepared something for lunch too, so I wouldn't have to cook later. At 11, she left. Then she came back around 5 in the evening. She washed dishes, prepared dinner, did laundry, changed bedding if necessary, and generally made sure I was comfortable before leaving around 9. It was a good arrangement. When I asked what I should do if I needed help at night, my son told me Carol lived nearby. Same street, I think. Which house? I don't know. She said close enough. Carol confirmed it. If there's an emergency, call me anytime. I thanked her. For that first month, I thought I had been lucky. Then, I had the first attack. I woke in the middle of the night, unable to breathe. At first, I thought it was another nightmare. Then my chest tightened. Hard, a crushing pressure spread through my ribs. My heart felt like it was trying to beat its way through bone. I gasped, tried calling out. Nothing came properly. My entire body tightened. I reached toward the nightstand. My phone was there, only a few feet away. Might as well have been across the room. I tried pulling myself upright. My bad leg caught awkwardly beneath the blanket. Panic made everything worse. I couldn't get air, couldn't reach the phone, could barely think. Then I saw her. Carol, standing in the far corner of my bedroom. Moonlight came through the curtains and touched only part of her face. For 1 second, relief hit me. Carol, except I didn't think I actually said the name. My mouth wouldn't work. Then I looked at her properly. Something was wrong. Very wrong. She wasn't moving, not even breathing. Her chest didn't rise. Her shoulders didn't shift. She simply stood there, perfectly still. The comfortable feeling I usually associated with her was gone. This was the opposite. The sight of her made every survival instinct inside me scream. Her eyes were uneven. One seemed slightly higher than the other. I had never noticed that before. Her smile was far too wide, not exaggerated enough to look immediately impossible, just wide enough that it seemed painful. The corners of her mouth pulled upward while the muscles in her cheeks twitched rapidly. Sweat covered her forehead. Tiny droplets reflected in the moonlight. That frightened me too. How long had she been standing there? Long enough to sweat? Minutes? Hours? Watching me sleep? I tried reaching for the phone again. She didn't help. Didn't speak. Didn't approach. She just smiled. My vision narrowed. The room seemed to fold inward. The last thing I remember was her face in the corner. Then, darkness. I woke to sunlight. For several seconds, I didn't remember anything. Then I heard movement in the kitchen. Cabinet doors. A pan. Someone humming. Carol, I dragged myself into my wheelchair and rolled toward the kitchen. She stood at the stove. Normal, hair tied back. Clean clothes. Comforting smile. Morning, she put a plate on the table. Had good dreams, old man? She chuckled. You slept soundly. I stared at her. Anger replaced fear. Were you in my room last night? She stopped. What? You heard me. No, sir, don't lie. I'm not. You were standing in the corner. Her face showed genuine confusion. At least it looked genuine. I was home, watching me. Sir, I have children. What does that have to do with anything? I was with them last night. Her eyes watered slightly, not dramatically, enough to make me feel guilty. I wouldn't enter your bedroom at night without permission. I almost told her about my chest, about passing out. But something stopped me. If I admitted I had suffered some kind of cardiac episode, my son would panic, maybe put me in assisted living, maybe decide I wasn't safe alone. So I kept that part to myself. Later, I searched online. Chest pressure, waking hallucinations, figures in bedroom. The results were all over the place. Sleep paralysis, night terrors, cardiac symptoms causing hallucinations. Then, because the internet is the internet, supernatural explanations. Demons, shadow people. Skinwalkers, mimics, I laughed at most of it. I had been in combat. I believed in fear, trauma, the human brain. I did not believe some monster had decided to imitate my maid. Not then. But after that night, I started noticing patterns. Carol would sometimes stand in doorways and stare at me. The first few times, I assumed she was waiting for instructions. Then I realized she wasn't always aware that I could see her. I might be watching television in the living room and feel something, that cold feeling between the shoulders. I would turn. Carol would be standing in the hallway, still watching. "How long have you been there?" She would immediately smile. "Oh, sorry, I was thinking." "About what?" Then she would walk away without answering. Sometimes she didn't leave at 11. I would hear the front door close, assume she had gone. Then, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I would hear something from another room. A footstep, a cupboard, a small cough. I would call, "Carol?" No response. I searched once, as much as a man in a wheelchair can search a house. Kitchen, bathroom, laundry room, closets, nothing. Then at 5, she would appear through the front door as usual. "Good afternoon." I asked, "Were you here earlier?" "No, I heard someone. Old houses make noise." "Maybe, but old houses don't quietly laugh behind bathroom doors." She began saying strange things, too. Little comments, always casual. One afternoon, while cutting potatoes, "What will you do in winter?" "What do you mean?" "When the wolves come." I laughed. "What wolves?" She kept chopping. "The hungry ones. There aren't wolves around here." She looked at me. Not yet. Another day, "Cold weather makes houses smaller." I asked what that meant. She smiled. "You'll understand." I started checking whether she really left at night. At 9, I would hear the front door, then lock it myself. But later, sometimes after midnight, footsteps crossed the hallway outside my bedroom. Slow, soft, one direction, then back again. I would call her number. Sometimes she answered immediately. Her voice sounded sleepy. "Sir, where are you?" "At home." I listened. Footsteps outside my bedroom. "Are you sure?" A pause. Where else would I be? The next morning, I would wake to find vegetables chopped neatly on the kitchen counter. Carrots, onions, celery, prepared for meals she hadn't started yet. I asked once, "When did you cut these?" "This morning. I was awake when you arrived." She smiled. "You must have missed it." No, I hadn't. 4 months ago, I confronted her properly. She was standing at the kitchen counter, cutting vegetables. The knife hit the board in a steady rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. I rolled into the kitchen. "We need to talk." Tap, tap. "Carol, tap. I'm serious." She kept chopping. I told her the staring had to stop. The strange comments. The footsteps. Her staying in the house after claiming she had left. I told her if it continued, I would report her to the agency. Maybe even the police. Nothing, she kept cutting. My anger grew. "Look at M.E." The knife stopped. Silence. Then she slowly turned her head. Not her whole body. Only enough for me to see one side of her face. The corner of her mouth curled upward. That smile. The one from my bedroom. "They'll never believe you." Her voice changed on the word never. Higher, almost childish. Then she giggled. Quietly, I stared at her. "Get out." She turned a little more. "They'll never believe you. Get out." I was shouting by then, actually screaming. That was when somebody knocked at the front door. Hard, Carol's expression changed instantly. The smile vanished. Concern appeared. Perfectly natural concern. She put the knife down. "Oh, sir." Then she hurried to the door. Our neighbors entered. Mr. and Mrs. Lawson from 2 houses down. They looked frightened. We heard yelling. Carol immediately said, "He's okay. He's been anxious lately." I stared. "What?" She came toward me. Gentle, slow-like, approaching a frightened animal. "It's all right. Don't touch me." Mrs. Lawson looked uncomfortable. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. Carol glanced at them. I've been worried about him. That was brilliant. In one sentence, she had changed everything. Now I was the problem. Old veteran, wheelchair, living alone, possible heart issues, yelling at his caregiver. Carol was the sweet maid trying to help. I looked at her. She smiled. Not so the neighbors could see. Just enough for me. I knew then. She wasn't losing her mind. She knew exactly what she was doing. I called my son later. He listened for maybe 10 minutes. Then said, Dad, Carol has excellent references. I don't care about her references. She's worked with elderly and disabled people for years. I'm 52, not 90. I didn't mean she's in the house when she shouldn't be. Do you have proof? No, silence, Dad. I'm not imagining it. I didn't say you are. The way he said it meant exactly that. I told the neighbors. Same reaction. 5-star reviews. Wonderful woman. Dependable, caring. One neighbor told me Carol had helped his mother after surgery. She's an angel. I almost laughed. After that, things became worse. Sometimes she hid. That sounds childish. But I don't know what else to call it. I would open a closet and see her crouched behind coats, not doing anything, just smiling. I would scream. She would laugh. Oh, you startled me. You were hiding. I was looking for detergent. In my bedroom closet? She shrugged. Once I opened the laundry machine because it was making a strange noise. I swear I saw her face behind the glass. Inside, smiling through the circular door. I recoiled so violently my wheelchair tipped slightly. When I looked again, empty. The machine wasn't even running. Sometimes she stopped cooking. For 2 days. 3, she knew I couldn't easily go shopping. Delivery services weren't as convenient where I lived. She would bring food for herself, eat it in the kitchen, then tell my son I had refused meals. When I complained, she looked hurt. He said he wasn't hungry. Everyone believed her. I started losing weight. At night, I heard crying, not loud, soft weeping from the other side of a wall, sometimes from the hallway, sometimes from beneath the kitchen sink, once from inside the ventilation duct. I would sit awake listening. Then, when Carol arrived the next morning, were you here? No. Did you hear anything? No. Smile. She also started waiting outside the bathroom while I showered. I couldn't see her, but I could feel her. I know how irrational that sounds. The curtain closed. Water running. Then that cold sensation at the back of my neck. Someone on the other side, listening, once I turned off the water suddenly. Silence. Then a small, wet footstep outside the door. Carol? Nothing. I opened the curtain. Nobody. The bathroom door was closed, locked from inside. I slept less and less. Then the smell started, about a month ago, from the walls. At first, faint, sweet, rotten, like meat left somewhere warm. I thought a mouse had died. Then it became stronger, certain rooms worse than others, especially the hallway near my bedroom. I called my landlord. He sent someone. The maintenance man checked the vents. Crawl space, pipes, nothing, no dead animals. Then what's the smell? He shrugged. Old house. Carol stood behind him. Smiling that night, the smell became so strong I vomited. The following morning, Carol said, "You're getting weak." I stared at her. She placed breakfast on the table. For the first time in almost a week. Eggs, toast, coffee. I didn't eat. Not hungry? No, that's a shame. She smiled. I made it special. I started keeping packaged food in my bedroom. Crackers, canned goods, protein bars, water, anything I could reach without depending on her. Carol noticed. One morning, the box was gone. I called my son. She took my food. He sighed. Dad, stop saying it like that. Like what? Like I'm confused. I'm worried about you. Then help me. I am trying. No. You're trying to make the problem easier for yourself. That ended badly. He didn't visit for almost 2 weeks. Carol barely fed me. I lost more weight. I started having panic attacks. At least, that's what doctors called them when I finally admitted the breathing problems. They gave me medication. Carol began reminding me to take it. I stopped trusting the pills after I caught her holding one in her fingers, studying it. "What are you doing?" "Helping. Put it down." She did. "Then, you'll sleep better." I stopped taking anything she gave me. My world shrank. Bedroom, living room, kitchen when necessary. I avoided closets, avoided dark hallways, avoided looking beneath furniture. I began sleeping with a kitchen knife beside my bed. Not because I thought I could fight her. I couldn't even run. I just needed something, some illusion of control. The worst thing happened 3 nights ago. I woke around 2. Footsteps outside my bedroom. One pause, then silence. I waited. My door slowly opened. Carol stood there, except she was facing backward, her back toward me, arms hanging. Carol? Her head turned. Only her head, farther than it should. I heard something crack softly in her neck. The face, looking over her shoulder, smiled. Cold winter soon. I grabbed the knife. "Get out." She remained there. The wolves don't eat everyone. "Leave. They leave some pieces. Get out." She walked backward into the hallway, never turning around. The door closed. I called my son. He answered angry and half asleep. I begged him to come. He refused at first, then heard me crying. He arrived around 3. Carol was gone. No sign of entry. Front door locked. Windows shut. He searched. Nothing. He sat with me until sunrise. For a while, I thought maybe he finally believed me. Then he said, "Dad, I think we need to talk about assisted living." I told him to leave. Yesterday, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I called the agency Carol supposedly worked for. I don't know why I hadn't done that earlier. Maybe because my son arranged everything. Maybe because I assumed I knew. I found the number on an old message. Called, a woman answered. I gave Carol's full name. Silence. "Could you repeat that?" I did. "What client is she assigned to?" I gave my address. More silence. "Then, sir, we don't have any employee named Carol." I felt cold. "That's impossible." "Who arranged your care?" "My son." "Did he book through us?" He said he did. She checked. My address existed in their system. There had been a request for home assistance 6 months earlier, canceled before a worker was assigned. Who canceled? I can't give you that information. Was Carol ever sent here? No. I hung up. Called my son. No answer. Again, nothing. Then Carol spoke behind me. That wasn't polite. I almost fell out of my chair. She stood in the hallway. She wasn't scheduled to arrive for another 2 hours. "How did you get in?" "You always ask that." "Who are you?" "Smile, Carol, no." She tilted her head. "Then who?" I didn't answer. She approached. I rolled backward. "Stay away." She stopped. Her left cheek twitched. "Your son wanted privacy." My chest tightened. "What?" "He told you that. How do you know? Children want many things. What did he want?" She smiled wider. Less responsibility. I grabbed my phone. "I'm calling the police." Her smile vanished. "Again?" "I never called them before." "Yes, you did." "No, you just don't remember." The room seemed colder. I stared. "When?" She pointed toward the wall. "Before they closed it." "What?" She walked away. Into the hallway. Then disappeared around the corner. I followed as quickly as I could. The hallway was empty. At the far end, the floral wallpaper had started peeling. Behind it, a door. Not a real door. An outline. Something had been covered over. I rolled closer. The smell was strongest there. Rot, sweetness, something wet. I pulled at the wallpaper. It tore easily. There had definitely been a doorway. Someone had boarded it over. Painted it. wallpapered across it. My hands shook. I called my landlord. He didn't answer. So I searched the kitchen drawers until I found an old screwdriver. It took almost an hour because of my chair and the angle, but I managed to remove part of the thin trim. The wood underneath was old. There were scratches on it from the other side. Long marks, dozens, some at adult height, some lower. Then I noticed writing, faint, pencil or charcoal. Carol is not her name. Below, do not let her feed you after dark. And beneath that, if she asks about wolves, do not answer. I stopped breathing. Someone else had lived here. Someone else had seen her. I kept tearing wallpaper. More writing. She lives between visits. Then, the smell means she is close to hungry. My stomach turned. I remembered how little she had been feeding me, how thin I had become. The crying inside the walls, the footsteps, the vegetables always cut. I looked toward the kitchen. Something clicked, knife against cutting board. Tap, 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 I rolled backward. Carol was in the kitchen, cutting carrots. I hadn't heard her return. She smiled without turning. You found the door. What's behind it? Tap, tap, what's behind the wall? She stopped. Then, winter. I called 911. This time, I did it. No threats. No warnings. I called. The dispatcher answered. I gave my address. Told her someone was inside my house. Carol started laughing. Not loudly. That childlike giggle again. The dispatcher asked whether the intruder was armed. I looked at Carol. Knife in hand. Yes, Carol turned. Her smile stretched. Good, what? They're coming. I didn't understand why that pleased her. Police arrived 8 minutes later. 2 officers. I heard the knock. Carol disappeared before I could even look away properly. 1 second kitchen. Next, gone. The officers entered. I showed them the wall, the scratches, the writing. They saw it. Thank God. One officer photographed everything. The others searched. No Carol, no open windows, no backdoor entry. Then they removed more of the boarded section. Behind it was a narrow passage, not a room, a space between walls, too wide to simply be construction space, maybe 3 feet across. It extended farther than the house should. One officer shined his flashlight. Jesus, what? The smell rolled out, rot much worse. He covered his nose. Then they found the first body. Not a person, not whole, a dog, old, dreed, then another. Smaller, bones, animal bones. Mostly, one officer called for backup. They told me to leave the house. I couldn't, not alone, so they wheeled me outside. Neighbors gathered. Mrs. Lawson asked what happened. I looked at her. Where's Carol? Her expression changed. Who? I stared. Carol, your caregiver? Yes, she frowned. I thought your son was taking care of you. My blood went cold. You've met her. No, she opened the door when you came over. Mrs. Lawson shook her head. You opened the door. No, you were yelling inside. Carol was there. She looked at the officer. That same worried expression. Hysterical old man again. Except this time, police had found something. They searched for hours. The hidden passage ran behind almost every room. There were small openings, peepholes, places where somebody could watch. My bedroom, bathroom, living room, kitchen. That explained the feeling of being watched. It explained how Carol could disappear. Except the passage had no entrance from outside, only the sealed wall. And judging by the nails, police said it had been closed for decades. Then they found photographs. Hundreds, different people who had lived in the house. Families, old couples, single tenants. Some photos looked recent, some decades old. Carol appeared in many of them. Same face, same age, same comforting smile. One photo was dated 1978, another 1961. Same woman. The police stopped treating me like I was hysterical. My son finally arrived. He looked at the photographs, then went pale. What? He wouldn't answer. I grabbed his wrist. You know her. No, don't lie. He started crying. I had never seen my son cry as an adult. Dad, I'm sorry. For what? He sat beside me. When we found the house, the landlord said there was already someone who helped previous tenants. Carol, he nodded. You never checked? She had references. From who? He looked toward the police. People in town. What people? He whispered, I don't remember. That sentence terrified me. How did you contact her? She contacted me. When? Before we signed the lease. Silence. What did she say? That the house needed someone. Not me. The house. I asked, did she tell you to move me here? My son's face collapsed. I thought it was my idea. I felt sick. Police took me to a hospital that night. My heart had been under enormous stress. The doctor said another major episode could kill me. I stayed 2 nights. My son promised I would never return to that house. Yesterday, police called. The hidden passage had been fully opened. They found remains belonging to at least 4 people. Old, some decades old. They also found a chair behind my bedroom wall, positioned directly behind a peephole. Someone had been sitting there, watching me sleep. Beside the chair were empty food containers, fresh coffee cups, and vegetables, recently cut. I asked whether they found Carol. No fingerprints, no useful matches. Dina, still processing. Then the officer asked something strange. Does the name Joseph mean anything to you? No, Joey? No, Joey? My stomach tightened. No, why? They found it written on the wall. Uncle Joey saves the leftovers. I had never heard that phrase before. At least I thought I hadn't. Then I remembered something. One of the first nights after I moved in, long before the cardiac attack, I woke around 3 in the morning. I heard Carol in the hallway. At the time, I thought I dreamed it. She was whispering to someone. I couldn't hear everything. Just, he isn't ready. Then, another voice. Male. Deep. From inside the wall. What about winter? Carol answered, soon. Then, the wolves, a pause, and the man said, leave the leftovers. I had forgotten completely, maybe because it sounded meaningless. Now it doesn't. I'm staying with my son temporarily. His wife isn't happy. I don't care. For once, he isn't arguing. He believes me now. Mostly, Carol's 5-star online profile has disappeared. The agency says it never existed. The landlord claims he has never heard her name. Police are still investigating the house. I should feel safer. But last night, at 2:13 a.m., I woke to footsteps outside the guest bedroom. One pause. I reached for my phone, then smelled something. Rot, faint, coming from the wall. I called my son. No answer. I called again. Nothing. Then somebody whispered from the hallway. Cold winter coming. Carol, I couldn't move. The handle slowly turned. Locked, she giggled. They believe you now. I said nothing. Her fingernails scratched the door. Was that what you wanted? I still didn't answer. The scratching stopped. Then they found my old rooms. Silence. They shouldn't have. Something moved inside the wall beside my bed. Not hallway. Wall. I turned my head. The wallpaper had begun to bulge outward. My son's house does not have floral wallpaper. It does now. White, yellow flowers. Exactly like the old house. A seam appeared. Door shaped. I grabbed my phone and called 911. The line connected. No dispatcher. Carol answered. Sir, same warm voice you used the first morning. We'll get you settled. I hung up. The wallpaper split. Behind it was darkness. Then yellow fluorescent light came on somewhere inside. A hallway. The same hidden passage from the old house. Only wider. Long enough that I couldn't see the end. Carol stood inside. comforting smile, hands folded. Behind her were other people, 4, maybe 5, thin, pale, standing very still. Some looked old, some young. One was wearing a military jacket. Mine, the one I wore when I came home from the war. He was sitting in a wheelchair, my wheelchair. I stared. Carol smiled wider. You were asking what happens when the wolves come. The people behind her began smiling, too. I whispered, "What do you want?" She tilted her head. "You? Why? You're easy to keep." My bad leg went cold. "What does that mean? You can't run?" The figures behind her laughed. Quietly, childlike then, something began scratching farther down the passage. Large, heavy, not human. Carol glanced over her shoulder. For the first time, she looked frightened. That gave me more fear than her smile ever had. "What is that?" She looked back at me. Winter, the scratching became pounding. The walls shook. Carol stepped toward me. "Come, No, you'll be safer inside." Inside what? The walls. Behind her, the people moved, not walking, pulling themselves forward in small jerks. Some had damaged legs. One had no feet. One dragged half its body. People who couldn't run. People who needed help. People who would have welcomed someone like Carol. I understood. She never wanted to kill me quickly. She wanted me dependent. Isolated, weak, disbelieved, hungry too, frightened to sleep. Too sick to leave. She wasn't tormenting me randomly. She was preparing me. Keeping me in the house until whatever came in winter was ready. Or until I was ready for it. I looked toward the hallway outside my room. Real hallway. My son's house. I shouted his name. Carol's expression twisted. "No, help." She moved closer. "Quiet," I screamed louder. My son burst into the hall. The instant he appeared, the opening in the wall collapsed. Normal wallpaper. Paint, nothing. He found me crying in bed. I told him. He believes me. At least, he says he does. We checked the wall. Solid. Then my daughter-in-law came in. She was angry. Tired, she asked what all the shouting was about. My son said, Dad saw her again. His wife looked at me. "Carol?" I nodded. Her face went pale. I noticed. "You know her." "No," my son turned. "What?" "I don't." "You reacted." She backed away. "No." Then I saw her left hand. Trembling, my son saw it too. "Why are you shaking?" She hid it. "I'm tired." I asked, "When did you meet Carol?" She started crying. My son stared at her. "Answer him." Finally, she whispered, "Before you moved him." My chest tightened. "How?" "She came to me." "What did she say?" His wife looked at me. She said your father needed somewhere quieter. My son backed away. "You told me that was your idea." I thought it was. Exactly what my son had said about choosing the house. Carol didn't just enter our lives after I moved. She arranged the move. Through them. His wife continued. She said it would be better for everyone. More privacy for us. Independence for him. I felt sick. "What else?" She asked about his condition. My son looked horrified. "You told her?" "I thought she was from the care agency." "What did she ask?" Whether he could walk. Silence. Whether he could leave the house alone. My son sat down. His wife covered her face. Then she whispered. And whether he had heart problems. My first attack. The figure watching from the corner. Carol hadn't come because I had a cardiac arrest. She knew it was happening. Maybe caused it. I'm writing this now because police are on their way. Again, my son called them. His wife finally gave us something useful. An address Carol had written on a card when they first met. Not my old house. A place farther outside town. We looked it up. There's supposed to be nothing there except forest, but satellite images show an old structure beneath the trees. Long, single story. White roof. My son zoomed in. There are several smaller buildings around it. From above, they almost look like houses, all identical. The police told us not to go there. We won't. I'm done being brave, done trying to prove anything. But 20 minutes ago, my son received a text. Unknown number. A photograph. The old house. My old bedroom. Empty wheelchair beside the bed. The wall behind it has been opened. Carol stands inside the passage. Smiling, below the photograph he left before dinner, then another. But winter comes to every house. The fluorescent light above me just flickered. Once, twice, then turned yellow. My son noticed. So did his wife. We are all sitting together now. No one is pretending I am hysterical. The smell has started again. From every wall. Rot, wet fur. Something old. My son is holding a baseball bat. His wife has a kitchen knife. I have my phone. That's about all I can do. We heard the first knock 5 minutes ago. Not at the front door. Inside the wall. 3 slow knocks. Then another from the opposite side of the room. Then from behind us. Carol's voice came from somewhere inside the house. Dinner, my son shouted, "Where are you?" I told him not to. Too late. She laughed. Then another voice answered. Male, deep, Uncle Jowie saved some. The room became very quiet. My daughter-in-law whispered, "Who is Uncle Jowie?" Before I could answer, something heavy moved behind the wall. Not Carol. Something much larger. Scratching, dragging itself. The smell became unbearable. My son grabbed my wheelchair handles. We're leaving. Good. That is what I wanted to hear. We reach the front door. It won't open. The lock turns. The door doesn't move. Windows, too. My son smashed one. There is no outside behind it. Only yellow light. Floral wallpaper. A hallway. The same hallway from my old house, stretching farther than it should. Doors on both sides. Some open. Inside the rooms are beds, wheelchairs, walkers, medical equipment. People, dozens, all sitting quietly, waiting. Every one of them looks sick, injured, old, or disabled. Every one has someone standing behind them. A woman. Sometimes Carol. Sometimes someone else. Caregivers, nurses, maid uniforms. Comforting smiles. Every room seems to have its own version. At the far end of the hall, something enormous crawls slowly through the yellow light. Long gray body. Too many legs. Its back scraping the ceiling. Each time it passes a room, the caregiver closes the door. My son whispered, "What is that?" Carol answered from directly behind us. "The wolves." We turned. She stood in the living room. Same warm smile from 6 months ago. Perfect, calm, she looked at my son. Then his wife, then me. I told him winter would come. My son raised the bat. Carol didn't react. I asked, "What happens now?" She looked almost sad. "Now you decide." "Decide what? Who needs help most?" The hallway behind us filled with quiet crying. Carol extended one hand. Not toward me, toward my son. My stomach dropped. "No," she smiled. "Children want privacy." My son backed away. What does that mean? I knew. All those months she had isolated me, made everyone distrust me, made my son resent the burden, made his wife want me gone. She had been waiting for one of them to decide that caring for me was too much. Maybe that was the real invitation. Not signing a lease, not hiring her. Abandonment, Carol looked at my son. You wanted freedom. No, sometimes, no. You thought it. His face broke. Of course he had. Any caregiver thinks it eventually. Just for a moment. I wish I didn't have to do this. I wish someone else would take responsibility. A human thought. Normal, Carol treated it like permission. She stepped closer. The thing in the hallway crawled nearer. I could hear its wet breathing. Carol whispered, "Just say you're tired." My son started crying. I grabbed his wrist. "No, Dad, don't say it. I'm sorry. I know. I didn't want. I know." Carol's smile disappeared. the first real anger I have ever seen on her normal face. I looked at my son. "You don't owe me your whole life." Carol flinched. "You hear me?" He nodded. "Taking care of someone doesn't mean you never get tired." The thing in the hall stopped. Carol stared. I continued. "You can want privacy. You can be angry. You can wish things were easier." My daughter-in-law started crying too, "But that doesn't mean you wanted me gone." "No," my son said. Carol's face twitched. "Say it again. I don't want him gone." The fluorescent lights flickered. The hallway warped. The wolf thing screamed. Carol opened her mouth, too wide, the same painful smile from my bedroom, only now stretched until her cheeks tore. Underneath was something dark. "Empty," my son said louder. "I don't want him gone." The hallway collapsed. Not physically. Folded, like a picture being closed. The open window became a broken window again. Outside night. Real street. Police lights approaching. Carol stood in the center of the room. Then she wasn't there. The smell disappeared. The lights returned to normal. My son took me outside. Police arrived. They searched. Nothing again, but this time there were 3 witnesses. Not just me. My son. His wife. Both saw the hallway. Both saw Carol. Both heard the thing she called wolves. So I'm not hysterical. That almost feels like victory. Almost. We haven't gone back inside. We're in a hotel now. The police took the address Carol gave my daughter-in-law. They went there this morning. The structure exists. It used to be a convalescent home. Closed in 1967 after several residents disappeared. Records show 1 employee remained under investigation for months. A caretaker. Her first name was Carol. The photograph police found is black and white. She looks about 45. Same face. Same comforting smile. On the back, someone wrote, "Winter staff." I don't know what that means yet. Maybe I don't want to. My son wants me to move back closer to him. Not into his house. Somewhere nearby. That's fine. I don't want his entire life. I never did. His wife apologized. I apologized too. There has been enough resentment in this family. Maybe that was how Carol found the cracks. Maybe creatures like her don't create cruelty. They just wait for the small, cruel thoughts normal people have and convince us those thoughts mean more than they do. I'm still frightened. I still hear footsteps sometimes. I still check corners when I wake. But I'm eating again. My son makes sure of that. And for the first time in months, I slept almost 6 hours last night. I woke around 5 this morning. The hotel room was dark. My son was asleep in the other bed. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. Then I heard chopping. Tap, tap, tap from the bathroom. I didn't move. Tap, tap, tap. The bathroom door was slightly open. Yellow light showed through the gap. I whispered, "Carol?" The chopping stopped. A woman chuckled. Then, "No, sir," different voice. Older, I reached for my phone. The door slowly opened. Nobody inside. Just a cutting board on the sink. A pile of neatly chopped vegetables. Beside them was a folded piece of paper. I didn't want to read it. I did. 3 words. Carol works days. And underneath, I work nights. My son is awake now. We are leaving again. I don't know where we can go. Maybe there is nowhere. Because I finally understand something Carol said that I thought was nonsense. Cold weather makes houses smaller. I thought she meant winter trapped people indoors. That wasn't it. The houses become smaller because something slowly takes away every exit until all you have left is one room, one caregiver, one choice. And outside that room, eventually, the wolves come. I can hear them now. Not outside the hotel. Inside the walls. And someone has just started cutting vegetables again.
The broadcast is ending, but some voices do not disappear when the radio goes quiet. Maybe one of tonight's confessions will stay with you. Maybe you will remember it the next time your phone rings at an odd hour, or when you hear something outside after midnight. Leave a comment with the story that got under your skin the most. Subscribe to Dead Air Confessions for more stories from the people who called in after something went wrong.